What's up, everybody? Welcome back to our study through 1 Timothy AIM. We are finishing up this week looking at the qualifications for overseers, and that's thinking about the office of pastor, elder, overseer, and then next week we're going to look at the qualifications for deacons. And I understand even on Sunday we're going to be talking about what a deacon is and what their role is in the church. And so for today, though, we're going to finish up looking at the qualifications for overseers. Last time we saw how there were internal qualifications for somebody seeking out that office, and that a man doesn't just get to be a pastor because he is a man, but there's actually a high standard for what we should expect for leaders in the church. And last time we saw there were internal qualifications, and this time we're going to see there's external qualifications. Read with me in chapter 3. We're going to start at verse 4. It says, "He must manage his own household well, with all dignity, keeping his children submissive. For if someone does not know how to manage his own household, how will he care for God's church? He must not be a recent convert, or he may become puffed up with conceit and fall into the condemnation of the devil. Moreover, he must be well thought of by outsiders, so that he may not fall into disgrace, into a snare of the devil." These are definitely external qualifications. And what I mean by external when we're thinking about that is it's different from internal, in that internal relates to matters of self-control. These are things that somebody has control over themselves and needs to be able to exemplify and represent to the church. And yet when we're looking at external qualifications, external has more to do with influence. What things do we see in their life that they have actually worked to change, or that they have had an impact on? And so it starts with the household. It says he must manage his own household well, with all dignity, keeping his children submissive. Somebody that's looking to be a leader in the church needs to understand how to lead in their home to start out with, and that goes with loving your wife and loving your children. If a pastor, an elder, an overseer is going to keep the church aimed at love, he needs to make sure his house is aimed at love first. And it also says here that he must not be a recent convert. And the reason that Paul gives for that is that there may be a temptation to become puffed up with conceit or fall into condemnation of the devil. That recent converts, that young converts are susceptible and vulnerable to some things. He doesn't put a time frame on that. There's not a point at which you graduate from the faith and then you can step into leadership. But it is a standard that we need to be able to say, man, this person has lived out the faith, has endured some tough times, and is qualified to lead. And I think that's really important. And the last thing he says here, I think, is really important. It says, he must be well thought of by outsiders, that he may not fall into disgrace or into a snare of the devil. Again, this is an external thing. It's looking at influence and how other people actually view this leader, view this person as they want to step into the church. How do they represent themselves, and how do they represent Christ outside of the church? And when we're thinking about what Paul is trying to get at, when he's trying to have the church aim at love, thinking about who gets to lead and the roles of overseers and leaders, I think it is critically important that those that are leading in the church are well thought of by those outside of the church. That those outside of the church look at those who are looking to step into leadership in the church and say, hey, they actually love me, they care for me. And that helps keep the church aimed at love. Listen, the theme that Paul is carrying throughout this entire letter is really, really clear, even in these passages. It's not just a random list. He's saying the church needs to be focused at love that issues from a pure heart, a good conscience, and a sincere faith, as we saw in chapter 1, verse 5. And that being made really clear, overseers and pastors, when they meet these internal and external qualifications, are going to keep the church aimed at love.